Welcome to the Explainer, everyone. I am literally so excited to be your guide today as we unpack something truly monumental in the world of travel. Let's be honest for a second, okay? If you've ever felt that deep, undeniable itch to see the world, you probably also know the dread that immediately follows. I mean, the mere thought of endless airport security lines, playing that exhausting game of suitcase Tetris in a cramped hotel room every 3 days, and just enduring a middle seat on a 15-hour flight, it's enough to exhaust you before you even begin. It can be a total logistical nightmare. But today, we're taking a really close, objective look at a fascinating travel trend highlighted by Holland America Line's newly announced 2028 Grand Voyages. We're going to break down exactly what makes these sailings so unprecedented from a routing perspective and why they are, quite frankly, completely changing how people approach long-haul travel. Okay, let's dive into this. Want to travel 6 continents without taking a single flight? Just sit with that premise for a moment. For most of us, navigating the globe means a chaotic maze of international airports. Praying your lost luggage somehow makes it to Rome while you're landing in Tokyo, fighting off debilitating jet lag, and sprinting through terminals to make tight connecting flights. Well, the brilliant logistical premise behind these new 2028 Grand Voyages is a complete paradigm shift away from all that chaos. Both of these massive, meticulously planned journeys leave from and return to a domestic port right here in the United States. You board the ship, you unpack your suitcase exactly once, you hang up your clothes, and the absolute best of the globe physically comes to you. It completely eliminates the friction of transit. It's a zero-flight, round-the-world adventure that really feels like a masterclass in modern travel efficiency. Let's start with the absolute crown jewel of this announcement. 129. That is 129 days of continuous, uninterrupted global exploration. This is the 2028 Grand World Voyage aboard the Volendam. This epic journey sets sail round trip from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, starting on January 4th, 2028. So you basically leave the harbor right after the New Year's confetti is swept up, and you don't return to reality until mid-May. It's a massive commitment of time, essentially putting your normal life on pause for a whole third of the year. But the geographical payoff for that kind of dedication, it is absolutely staggering. You aren't just taking a quick vacation here, you're adopting a temporary nomadic lifestyle on the open ocean. To truly grasp the sheer, monumental scale of this journey, we have to look at the hard stats. The Volendam will make 45 distinct ports of call. You'll be stepping foot in 26 different countries, touching down on 6 of the world's continents, and crossing the equator not once, but twice. And crossing the equator by ship is a legendary nautical milestone all on its own, usually celebrated with these centuries-old line-crossing ceremonies. And you get to do it heading south, and then all over again heading back north. This itinerary is a triumph of routing. You're not just hugging a familiar coastline for a week. You're actively traversing the globe, hopping from hemisphere to hemisphere, and experiencing a volume of shifting geography that would normally take a dedicated traveler decades to piece together. Chronologically, this route is a fascinating study in extremes. It delivers some incredible climate shock along the way. You depart the warm, sunny beaches of Fort Lauderdale on day 1, cruising down through the tropical Caribbean and along the vibrant coasts of South America. But by the time you hit your first month, you've traded your swimsuit for a parka to experience the icy, desolate extremes of Antarctica. Then, the climate flips completely once again. By the middle of your journey, you've crossed the vast Pacific and are basking in the tropical warmth of French Polynesia, anchoring right next to the iconic overwater bungalows of Bora Bora. Moving into the final third of the trip, the ship navigates the dense, rich cultures of Indonesia, Singapore, and Sri Lanka, eventually rounding the notorious Cape of Good Hope in South Africa before finally crossing the Atlantic for a stop in Puerto Rico and returning home. The dramatic shifts in geography and climate are just flawlessly connected. What's really fascinating here is the specific inclusion of a dedicated 4-day Antarctic experience. And our sources note this isn't just a quick sail-by where you squint at a tiny, distant iceberg through binoculars. No way. After exploring the southern tip of South America, the Volendam dedicates 4 distinct days to navigating the pristine, icy waters of the Antarctic. Picture this, standing on your balcony, bundled up, cruising north through the famous Beagle Channel, gliding silently past the towering, jagged blue ice of Glacier Alley, and weaving carefully through the breathtaking Chilean fjords. It adds this intense, expedition-level thrill to a traditional luxury experience. This kind of deep, multi-day polar exploration is highly rare for a world cruise that starts out in the warm, predictable waters of Florida. And this brilliantly illustrates one of the absolute coolest geographic quirks built into this specific routing. Moving from the icy fjords of the south back to equatorial waters brings us to a super rare nautical achievement, a sail past of Null Island. Now, if you're a map nerd or just fascinated by navigation, you are gonna love this. Nell Island isn't an actual physical landmass with palm trees and beaches. Actually, it's the exact theoretical intersection in the Gulf of Guinea where the prime meridian, 0 degrees longitude, and the equator, 0 degrees latitude, meet. Sailing precisely over coordinates 00 is the ultimate navigational Easter egg. It's a legendary milestone for sailors, cartographers, and geography enthusiasts alike. It literally represents the mathematical center of standard world maps. The fact that they purposely built this exact pinpoint right into the Volendam's route shows some incredible attention to detail. But look, a journey of this magnitude isn't just about natural wonders and invisible coordinates. The cultural depth of this voyage is just as profound. The 129-day trip visits a staggering 31 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Think about that density of history for a second. These are universally recognized as the most culturally, historically, and scientifically significant places on Earth. You aren't just sightseeing here, you're walking through the pages of human history. And the crown jewel among these 31 stops? An unforgettable, in-person visit to the iconic Taj Mahal in India. Seeing the sun reflect off that pristine white marble transforms the journey from a mere extended vacation into a deeply enriching educational expedition. It's the kind of thing that genuinely changes how you view the world. Now, as promised, Holland America didn't just announce one massive grand voyage. They actually announced 2 entirely distinct itineraries. And comparing them side by side reveals 2 very different philosophies of travel. On one hand, we have the Volendam, a massive 129-day endeavor departing from Fort Lauderdale, aiming to conquer 6 continents in a true global circumnavigation. But on the other hand, we have the Zandam. This is a slightly shorter, but equally captivating, 90-day duration, departing from the West Coast in San Diego, California, and focusing intensely on just 2 continents. This contrast is absolutely key, because it shows how the cruise line is strategically catering to 2 distinct types of epic travelers: the global circumnavigator, who wants to see a little bit of everything, and the deep-dive Pacific explorer, who wants to thoroughly conquer a specific region. So let's explore that second type of traveler. The 90-day Grand Australia and New Zealand Voyage is custom-built for those who have always harbored a dream to explore the vast, beautiful expanses of Oceania and the South Pacific. But, and this is crucial, they want to do it without surviving a grueling 15-hour flight across the Pacific in a cramped middle seat. This itinerary officially departs from San Diego on January 30, 2028. It's a masterfully planned deep dive directly into the heart of the Pacific Ocean. It offers a level of regional immersion that those shorter, 2-week cruises simply cannot match. The flow of this flightless round-trip transit is just remarkably elegant. Leaving the familiar shores of California, the ship sails smoothly westward toward the lush, volcanic Hawaiian Islands, eventually crossing the international date line. That's another fun, mind-bending nautical milestone where you essentially skip a full day on the calendar. Then, at the heart of the journey, you spend extensive, immersive time exploring the incredibly diverse landscapes of New Zealand and Australia, alongside culturally rich regions like Melanesia, Fiji, and Samoa. After weeks of deep Southern Hemisphere exploration, you make a leisurely way back up through the breathtaking lagoons of French Polynesia before finally returning to your starting point in San Diego 90 days later, completely transformed. And you know, this specific itinerary is intentionally structured to embrace the whole philosophy of slow travel. This is definitely not a rushed, chaotic bus tour where you spend 10 minutes taking photos before being herded away. The Zandam will dock overnight in some incredibly vibrant cities: Hobart, Sydney, Cairns, Fremantle, which is the port for Perth, Auckland, and Papati. Plus, they've built in an extended evening stay in Bora Bora. For a cruise, this is a total game changer. It means you don't just see these massive cities during the hectic rush of the daytime, you get to truly experience their nightlife. You can enjoy a leisurely, multi-course dinner in port, go see a show at the Sydney Opera House, and genuinely soak in the local culture, without constantly checking your watch in a panic, terrified of missing the ship before sundown. And while this sprawling global trip hit 31 UNESCO sites, this 90-day focused Pacific itinerary holds its own beautifully, boasting visits to 13 UNESCO World Heritage Sites. Because the ship spends so much concentrated time in Oceania, you get unparalleled access to the breathtaking, vibrant underwater world of the Great Barrier Reef in Australia. Imagine having the time to actually snorkel the world's largest coral reef system, seeing its incredible marine biodiversity up close. The journey also brings you face-to-face with the dramatic, cinematic volcanic landscapes of New Zealand's Tongariro National Park. It's a highly curated, deeply thoughtful list of natural and cultural wonders that perfectly captures the whole essence of the South Pacific. Beth Bodensteiner, the president of Holland America Line, hits the nail on the head regarding why these specific routes are so unique. She states, "What makes our Grand Voyage itinerary special is the opportunity to experience destinations more fully while visiting rare Mariners Collection ports exclusive to these cruises." This is a really vital distinction. These Mariners Collection ports, and there are 16 of them on the Volendam alone, are rare, off-the-beaten-path destinations. Think of tiny, secluded harbors and isolated island communities. Standard, shorter cruise itineraries simply don't have the time, the fuel capacity, or the logistical routing to access these places. By committing to a multi-month journey, you are essentially getting an exclusive backstage pass to the hidden gems of the globe that most tourists will literally never get to see. Now, executing a voyage of this magnitude requires serious logistical planning, both from the cruise line and from you, the traveler. If you are even remotely considering putting your life on pause for one of these journeys, you need to circle June 14, 2027 on your calendar in bright red ink. This is the absolute hard cutoff date to secure the massive early booking benefits that are currently being offered for these 2028 departures. Marking this date and acting before it passes is quite literally the difference between simply booking a nice cruise and walking up the gangway on embarkation day with a small fortune in included amenities and logistical perks. And the reason that specific deadline matters is frankly staggering when you look at the raw data. If you secure your cabin for the 129-day Volendam World Voyage early, you can receive up to $10,700 in early booking benefits per stateroom. I mean, wow. If you opt for the 90 days on Dom Voyage out of California, you're still looking at up to $8,500 in added upfront value. We need to be clear here. These aren't just small, incremental discounts or a free bottle of cheap champagne waiting in your room. These are massive, substantial inclusions that completely elevate the comfort, the luxury, and the day-to-day flexibility of your months living at sea. So what do those massive dollar amounts actually buy you in the real world? First, it includes up to $2,500 in pure onboard credit. That is house money, folks. You can freely spend that on bucket-list shore excursions, premium spa treatments after a long day in port, or exquisite specialty dining. It also covers a $500 air credit per person to help you get to your domestic departure port in Florida or California. But perhaps the absolute best perk is the complimentary Wi-Fi. Having seamless internet access for 3 to 4 months means you can easily video chat with your family back home, share real-time updates of the Taj Mahal, or even seamlessly manage remote work while sailing through the middle of the Pacific Ocean. It ensures your epic adventure is as connected and stress-free as it is breathtaking. So we've covered a lot of ground today. The icy, magnificent fjords of Antarctica, the iconic overwater bungalows of Bora Bora, the mathematical perfection of 0 degrees latitude at Null Island, the timeless beauty of the Taj Mahal, and the absolute luxury of requiring 0 international flights to experience all of it. These 2 grand voyages truly represent the pinnacle of structured, immersive, logistical travel perfection. So I want to leave you with this thought to ponder. Knowing that you can simply drive or take a short domestic flight to a port in Florida or California, unpack your bags just one single time, and have the entire globe brought right to your balcony, which ocean do you want to wake up next to in 2028? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep exploring,